Hello, everyone. Today I have with me my son Grant.
Hi.
And since I can't be with all my students, with you guys, I still want to show you this tool. So I'm going to be teaching Grant how to use this tool, and then you can follow along. And then we're going to use this for a couple activities at class. But it's a pretty cool tool called Twine. And what it allows is it allows for us to tell interactive stories. So if you've ever read a book that is a choose your own adventure story, which is, you read a page and it says, Tommy went to a haunted house and he saw a ghost on one side and a mummy on the other. Which way should Tommy go? And then you flip to whatever page. If you want to go to the ghost, go to page 20. If you want to go to the mummy, go to page 54. And then you get to choose how the story goes. Have you ever read any stories like that?
It was a Titanic book. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Now this tool Twine can go way beyond that. So I'm just going to show you the basics, and then that's what I'm going to teach you today, Grant. And then I'm going to show you a tool that has way more information. So if you want to make it even more interactive, so you can turn this basically into a sort of a text-based game where you have to go find keys and unlock doors, and you'll use some programming to figure out how to do that. So all I'm going to teach you is the programming to do the interactive story today. And then I'm going to show you the tool to look into if you want to spend some more time figuring out sort of the more in-depth tools, which can be pretty cool. So I've got the main Twine website open here. Actually, I want to go back a page. So this, when we go to twinery.org, which I have linked in Google Classroom, this is the page it takes you to. And it just sort of gives us some information. Now, there's a couple ways to do Twine, but really it works on the web. So over here on this little sticky note, we're going to click the button that says Use it online. And you may get some pop-ups with some information if this is the first time you've ever used Twine, and that's okay. And I've got a couple just little example stories on my account right now on my browser, but this is based on the computer you're using. It'll probably be blank unless you've used Twine before. Now, I will say something very important, that Twine saves to your web browser. So you don't save the file to Google Drive or your desktop or your Chromebook or whatever you're using. It saves within your browser, which is important for a couple reasons. That means if you switch computers, unless you somehow archive or back up your story, you're not going to be able to get to it on a different computer. Another important thing is if you go into your settings of your browser and clear what's called cookies or clear saved data, it's going to erase your stories. Now, there's a way, if we look over here, there's a way to archive stories and save them, but it saves automatically to your browser. So if you don't mess with deleting your saved data, if you don't switch computers a lot, then it's not going to be an issue. But if you use a couple different computers or things like that, that might be something that you need to be aware of. All right, so let's jump into it. So let's create a new story. So over here on the right side, you can see plus story, and we are going to name a story. So Grant, I'm going to let you name it. Will you come up with a name for our story?
Go
ahead and type it in, whatever you come up with.
Okay.
All right, great. Now it's a title, so what should we do to the first letter? Well, yeah, here. So you have to hold shift and then hit the P, right? Well, maybe it's not letting us. Oh, you turn caps lock on that. You know what the difference between caps lock and shift? Caps lock means every letter you type is capital. Shift, you hold it, and whatever letter you type while you're holding it will be capital. All right, so pickles.
Yay.
We're going to click add, and now it brings us into our story creator. And we create our story with small passages. Right now we have one passage. It has a rocket ship on it, meaning when our audience starts our story, this is the passage that they will start with. As our story gets more complicated and more interactive, you're going to have a lot of different passages. And your readers, depending on how many choices you give them, will be able to kind of jump between different passages depending on what they choose in their story. So we're going to edit this passage. So when I hover my mouse over it, I have a few options. I can delete it. I can click the pencil to edit or change what's in the passage. If I click the play button, it's going to let me see what my story looks like if I was the reader, if I was the audience. And then we have a menu with a few other items that for now aren't really going to affect us, but we can change how this passage looks in this view, and our story will start at this passage. Okay, but let's edit it. And right now, we have an untitled passage. We have no tags with it. So tags can be important if you have a really complicated story. If you have a more simple story, it's not too crucial to use tags. And then down here, we have a passage. So Grant, can you type, I'll type, can you tell me how you want the story to start?
A farmer grew a pickle, and then a witch came and spilled a potion on the pickle.
Perfect, we'll stop there, okay? So let's go ahead and title this our introduction. Okay, and then now let's give our readers a choice. So let's say, should the farmer, and then when I do the choices, this is my preference, because this is what I'm used to in these stories. I like to put a colon before the choice. And then on a new line, put my choices. So the first choice should be, what should the farmer do? We'll give him a couple choices.
Sell the pickle.
Okay.
Or he could
What could he do?
He could feed it to one of his animals.
I was going to say feed it to the pigs.
Pig.
Okay. Now, right now, nothing happened to our choices. They're not special yet. So we're going to start computer coding. Okay. So we need to tell the computer that this is something special. We need to use a code to tell the computer this should be a choice, should be something that the reader can click on. To do that, we're going to use this key, the square bracket key. Okay, and see how Grant, and you guys will see this on the screen once he types it, but see how this one is open and this one is closed? Mm-hmm. So before the choice, we do 2 open square brackets. And then after the choice, Grant, go ahead and put 2 closed square brackets.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. So now if we look, what color did those turn, Grant? What color did our brackets turn?
Blue.
Blue. Okay. Did our text change?
No.
No, it stayed the same, but now we have these blue brackets on the outside. Let's do the same thing with our other choice, feed it to the pigs. Okay. And now I'm going to show you something cool. When we close our passage, we have 2 new passages appear. One titled Sell the Pickle and one titled Feed It to the Pigs. Let's go ahead and open up Sell the Pickle. And it's blank. Okay? So now we can say, the farmer took his pickle to the market and sold it for how much money? Let's give him choices.
He could sell it for $50 because it's a magical pickle.
$50.
Or the normal price for a pickle, $15.
That's an expensive pickle. So what do we do to make them choices?
We do 2 of the first bracket.
Good.
And 2 of the second.
All right. So again, when we close this, look what we got. 2 more choices. Now, want to see something really cool? Okay. So let's say we're feeding it to the pigs. When the farmer, this isn't going to make much sense, but it's going to show us a cool trick, okay? When the farmer gave the pickle to the pigs, they said, I'm not eating that thing unless you pay me. And now down here, what do you think we're going to do?
2 choices.
And let's do them the same as what we did last time. $50 or $15. And you see, once I start typing, how this 15 pops up? if Twine knows that that's one of my choices. So if I double click it, it's going to
How does it
automatically
know?
put it in there because
Hey, you
it
did-
knows
you
it's
did
already
too.
down here. Oh,
You did too many signs.
right. So see, I wanted it to connect to this one, but it didn't because there's a typo. You know what we call that?
A thing that gone wrong.
Yeah, we call it a bug in the code. So we got to debug our program, debug our code by getting rid of that extra dollar sign. And now we can delete this passage because we don't need it, right? All right. So now let's test out our story, okay? So if we click the first story and hit play, or the first passage there, this is what it's going to come up with. It's going to open a new tab with our story. A farmer grew a pickle, and then a witch came. Did I spell the right kind of witch? I think so. She spilled a potion on the pickle. Should the farmer sell the pickle or feed it to the pigs?
Feed it to the pig.
All right, so we click feed it to the pigs, and now that passage opens. When the farmer gave the pickle to the pigs, they said, I'm not eating that thing unless you pay me
$15.
$15. And now this passage is blank because we haven't edited it. So we might want to put in here, if this was the ending of our story, we might want to say, you don't have $15, so the pigs, what do the pigs do?
They turn into dragons and eat you.
Okay, that ending of the story. All right, so now we close this tab and we're back at our story. If you notice the way the story looks, it's a pretty simple page. It's a black page, white text, and then our choices, what is that, blue?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, our choices show up as blue. You can change how that looks, and you can add in pretty complicated stuff to your coding if you check out this page. That is the Twine Wiki. So this wiki is just a big source of information. I have this page linked as well on Google Classroom. Now, Twine has a lot of different coding features to it. So there's going to be stuff in here that may not make sense to you. I guarantee there's stuff in there that does not make sense to me. But there's some tutorials, and we're using Twine 2, just so you know. There's an older version called Twine 1. But there's some tutorials for Twine 2. There's a really cool guide that we can use that shows us some pretty cool stuff. So for example, if you want to add stats like how strong your player is or how fast they are, you can do that. If you want to change how the page looks, you can do that. If you want to add images or movies, you can do that as well. You can add an inventory system. So if on one page you get a pickle,
Yay!
the coding can keep track that you have a pickle. And if you sell that pickle, it can keep track of that now you don't have a pickle, but you have money.
Money.
Now, that's really complicated. And so if you want to get into that, you can. But if you just want to stick to our basic choosing a story, choosing a path, that's perfectly fine with me. So I will give you instructions in the future on what activity we're going to be creating with this. But if you want to start playing now, this is completely free online. All you do is go to twinery.org or click the link in Google Classroom. Thanks for doing this, Grant.
Yay!
See you later.